Azul will be going first. Looks like he's got a Rockruff in his hand, decided thinking maybe about benching it, but actually opted not to in the end.
His hand actually is Rockruff and double Buzzwole GX.
And now, is there anything else he can actually do with it?
Does he have any supporter in his hand?
I'm not sure. He's not showing us the rest of his hand now. I mean, if he doesn't have a supporter but he just has an energy, he can maybe just put that on the Buzzwole and next turn start doing some jet punches and have that see him through until he's able to see more cards. But it looks like he's really agonizing over this decision to bench something here.
Yeah, it looks like just a Guzma in his hand.
Oh, no.
That is not the type of hand you want to see in the finals.
Not in any match, let alone the finals. And maybe could Azul be considering whether he wants to retreat this Mew, leave the energy in his hand, and then next time maybe go for an encounter for his Tapu Lele GX?
He could, and also maybe even just access to corner with Rockruff. Try to stall for a little bit of time with having Remoraid stuck up in the active spot.
Yeah, you can tell he's really struggling with it because if he commits the energy to the active Mew now, then what happens if Dyego just takes a knockout on it? Then he's left stuck regardless. He actually just opts to attach to the bench Buzzwole and then announce his pass.
All right, Dyego, on the other hand, has that Ultra Ball in his hand, has a Tapu Lele as well. It looks like his hand is pretty stacked. Yeah, his hand is much, much better. Able with the Ultra Ball and the Tapu Lele ready to go, he's going to be discarding, looks to be a Guzma, and then maybe looking at discarding that Auxiliary as the other card, and yes, indeed. And now he'll be able to set up his bench really nicely with all the attackers and support Pokemon that he wants. Yeah, eyeing down maybe that Buzzwole GX to pair with that Max Elixir in his hand. And he's now taking a look through just to make sure that he knows exactly what's priced. You will see that pretty much most of his key pieces are available to him, but maybe making himself absolutely aware of his lack of one of each of his Rockruffs and Lycanrocks in case he decides to go for a second Bloodthirsty Eyes later and isn't able to. Yeah, and one of the important cards that we did talk about a little bit is that Mew for Azul being able to hit that Psychic Weakness on Buzzwole. He might want to see if he can draw into a strong energy and just try to take it out right away this turn. Yeah, that would be really ideal for him because, of course, Mew only having 50 HP means just a strong energy on a Buzzwole means Jet Punch does 50 damage, which is enough for a knockout already. And then here is the Tapu Lele Wonder Tag, usually getting that Bridget supporter card, but there is no Bridget here, just a Professor Sycamore to load up his hand. Yes, of course, the Buzzwole Lycanroc deck being the top tier deck that doesn't make use of Bridget, not really needing to on the basis of all the other items and stadiums and such that it has to access its Pokemon, like Brooklet Hill and the multiple Ultra Balls. All these are essentially enough for Buzzwole Lycanroc to set up the way it wants to, and it means that you can dedicate your supporter to other things like Guzmas or Sycamores for drawing more cards. And here is the first Max Elixir of the game for both of these players. Does he have the basic fighting? He does! He does, so a great hit already, and the crowd likes that. All right, but remember, he's still looking for that strong energy to take a knockout on this Mew. He has that Regirock EX in hand, but it only adds 10 damage, meaning he'd be one short of taking the knockout. Yeah, indeed, it won't be enough. He needs to find that strong energy, and even the Choice Band obviously won't do because it only does 30 extra damage if the opponent's Pokemon that you're attacking isn't EX or GX. So right now, this Buzzwole's still only doing 30. And there is the Sycamore discarding his... Oh, he actually discarded the Regirock EX as well. Oh, interesting. So maybe deciding that the bench slot it occupies isn't worth it, given that it could enable Azul to do more damage with Dangerous Road GX, and he does indeed see the strong energy. Wow, there's a lot of energy in his hand, actually. I think 4 or 5. Yeah, he's not going to be short of energy attachments for the next few turns, but the strong being the really big hit, as he actually maybe considers not attaching it. Is he maybe just going to go for a basic instead? I don't know if he has a way to retreat the Remoraid out of the active position. Oh, of course, you're right. So actually, maybe it makes more sense to just go for benching the second Buzzwole and attaching a strong energy to that, and then next turn you can just attach to the Remoraid in the active with one of the basics and then retreat and attack. All right, let's see if Azul's able to draw out of it. He does! Ultra Ball off of the top of the deck for Azul here. It could give him access for a Tapu Lele. Yeah, we know it's not prized, so there it is. Ultra Ball looks like he's going to discard the Guzma and the Auxiliary, and yeah, he'll be able to... He's been bailed out here. He's going to be smiling about that. And if anything, Dyego knows exactly how that goes if you've watched his top 4 matchup. Yeah, absolutely. And there it is. Tapu Lele goes to the bottom of the deck and just going for the Sycamore straight away. He knows what he's after. All right, we will have a game here, folks. This will not end just in a one-sided affair, and that's always great to see. Yeah, we wouldn't want that, especially not in the finals of the Masters Division of an international championship. Exactly.
Sycamore going into Azul's hand and probably benching that other Buzzwole. There's no real threat of a dangerous rogue coming from Dyego in the next few turns just because there's no Rockruff on the bench.
But there goes the Buzzwole, and the Choice Band actually goes onto the active Mew, and then the Sycamore gets played. Now, if he's able to find a strong energy plus the Regirock here, that would be enough to do a Jet Punch KO onto the Remoraid, which would be a pretty good turn for him.
Yeah, Remoraid, one of the important cards. And, oh, he actually gets the strong energy and the Brooklet Hill to search that out.
Yeah, fantastic. That's seeing exactly what he needs. And actually, he's going to go for the Bloodthirsty Eyes instead. Opting to bring out the Buzzwole. We're going to attach the active Mew and Jet Punch it instead, just softening it up.
Yeah, well, Mew having the great utility of using your own basic Pokemon attacks. And with the Choice Band, it actually deals 120 damage to the Buzzwole.
That is a lot for a Pokemon which only has 50 HP.
And also, it kind of plays this 7-prize game that Dyego really tries to want to avoid.
Yeah, of course. If this Mew gets knocked out and then Azul can force Dyego to knock out 3 GX Pokemon in succession after the Mew, essentially the Mew was free. You know, getting knocked out doesn't progress Dyego any further in terms of the resources he invests to knock out enough things to win him the game.
All right, so we do see the Brooklet Hill here. It's kind of a double-edged sword because it will allow Azul to get maybe a Remoraid, the Regirock, or another Rockruff essentially, but it also does the same thing for Dyego.
Yeah, it does. Also, not only that, but Azul's bench is looking very full right now, and once Dyego gets down a Rockruff of his own and evolves it, Dangerous Rogue will be, of course, an option to him, and it will be able to knock out any Pokemon on Azul's side of the field, owing to how large his bench is.
Yeah, and remember, Dyego on his turn 1 Ultra Balled away an Octillery, so it could mean that if Azul puts that 30 damage on the Remoraid, it could put him on the back foot and try to really find that Octillery.
Yeah, absolutely. But meanwhile, that is just the Jet Punch. It's like 120 damage onto the active, really, really strong, and just opting to put 30 on the Remoraid in the hopes that maybe it doesn't evolve and there could be a free prize knockout next turn with on both the Buzzwole and the Remoraid.
Oh, but looking at Diego's hand, he actually has the Octillery, but he also has a ton of energy, so he won't be able to draw that much with Abyssal Hand.
No, he won't, although he does have a follow-up strong energy, which will be really good for him. He'll be able to attach that to the active, and he will be able to do Jet Punch for a KO. But the problem he has is the rest of his hand is all energy as well, and then a Sycamore.
Oh, no, that's not what you want to see, especially if you watched Seniors Finals.
Yeah, you know, in the Seniors Finals, we saw that one of the reasons why Preston fell behind so much was because he really had lack of access to energy, and Dyego might find himself in a similar position if he decides to Sycamore the rest of his hand away.
All right, there's a Brooklet Hill for the Rockruff. Again, trying to threaten the Dangerous Rogue. It's one of the few attacks in this deck that can knock out almost anything your opponent has.
Yeah, so of course Dangerous Rogue, as we already mentioned before, doing 50 damage times the number of bench Pokemon your opponent has. So right now we'll be doing 250 damage minimum, and that's not even factoring in things like Strong Energy and Choice Band, but neither of those are necessary to KO anything in Azul's deck anyway.
Yeah, and unfortunately he might have to commit another energy to this slowly weakened Buzzwole, and having that one on the bench that could do it for him, he's not actually able to retreat the active.
No, he's not. So, oh, actually, just going to attach, the basic to the active, and then he will retreat for the 2 energy and just opt to attack with the fresh Buzzwole instead, which, as it has the strong energy on it, will be enough to knock out the Mew, and he opts to do the bench damage to the Remoraid as well.
But again, I think Azul's probably fine with this. He got 2 energy off the board.
Yeah, exactly. And so now in terms of tempo of energy attachments, Azul can now creep back forward, whereas perhaps before he was much further behind.
And now it's going to be interesting to see what Azul promotes. It could be telling to if he has a Guzma or not. It does not look like it here.
No, it doesn't. But equally, it's like you said, Azul's pretty fine with this position. He can, do another Jet Punch here, soften up this fresh Buzzwole a little bit more, maybe even set up a 4-prize knockout, carrying 2 Buzzwoles later if that ends up being an option to him. But regardless, I think that Azul is going to be pretty happy with how he's sitting here.
Yeah, and actually, Azul also discarded Octillery in the early turns, and I think from when we saw his prizes, he had 1 prize as well. So that Remoraid is just a free prize there on the bench.
Yeah, it is indeed. And there goes the strong energy onto the active Buzzwole, and after that, just an N being played. Now, it'll be interesting to see where he opts to put this
Jet Punch damage. He could opt to do another 30 to the artillery, after which another Jet Punch residual damage will knock it out. But as we've seen so many times in Buzzwole, like in Rock games over the course of the past 3 days, that Rock Ruff is arguably going to be one of the biggest threats on Diego's side. So he might opt to target that down instead before it evolves into a Lycan Rock.
Yeah, plenty of options. He could also choose to weaken that Buzzwole with 120 damage on it to where eventually just a Jet Punch could knock it out.
Yeah, indeed. That would be another option open to him as well. And Azul, of course, is going to make sure to consider all of those before deciding where would be the most optimal place to put that damage. He would have been doing that over the course of the past 3 days, otherwise he wouldn't be here in the finals.
Yeah, and of course that end from Azul did shuffle away Diego's awkward hand of Energy and Sycamore. So now he'll. Oh, I think they kind of switched spots a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. Now Azul's the one with the hand full of energy, and we haven't quite got a good look at Diego's hand yet, but I'd imagine it's got to be better than that.
Yeah, he does have that Max Elixir, but Max Elixir is not really that good when most of your basic energy are in your hand.
No, that's the problem that several players ran into over the course of the past few days, where either due to energy being in hand or prized, those Max Elixirs were so much more likely to be whiffs, and every single Max Elixir that you miss is just another really wasted resource that's going to make you feel pretty sad.
Yeah, of course, Azul playing the 11 fighting energy, really just trying to mitigate that.
And that's something that's we have to really call out about Azul's list as well. I think all of the Buzzwole Lycan Rock lists that we've seen this weekend, this is the one with the highest basic fighting count. In Diego's list, for example, we see 9. In some, we've actually seen 10. For example, both the juniors list had 10 in them. Azul has 11.
Yeah. He really does not want to miss Max Elixir, but unfortunately, it looks like he's not even opting to play it here just because of those 3 fighting in his hand.
Yeah, he's aware that playing it, statistically speaking, just doesn't make any sense given the energy count in his hand. And actually, like you said, Jeremy, it looks like his option that he went for in terms of the Jet Punch bench damage, it was onto that Buzzwole GX.
Yeah, well, really just putting a lot of pressure on the 2 main attackers Dyego has right now. And although all the energy is on that active Buzzwole, and not evolving the Remoraid kind of shows a sign of weakness to Dyego. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to have you not have Octillery this game.
Yeah, and this is actually doubly bad for Azul, because now Diego's inevitably going to use Jet Punch and knock out the Remoraid, and now Diego's going to be back on an even number of prizes, so he's managed to avoid that trap of falling into the 7-prize game.
It'll be interesting to see where he attaches this fighting. A lot of choices here. Rockruff to threaten a dangerous rogue later on in the game. Also, Sudowoodo coming down onto the bench. Watch and learn, such a useful attack, especially when your opponent's going to be using knuckle impacts and dangerous rogues and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, of course, watch and learn for a fighting energy colorless, being able to allow you Sudowoodo to copy exactly the attack that your opponent used last turn. So, you know, in the event of Azul using the, like I said, dangerous rogue or absorption, Sudowoodo could even copy both of those and potentially get a really big comeback knockout, but by only using a 1-prize Pokemon.
All right, let's see what Dyego is deciding on playing. We do have the Guzma in his hand. He might be able to bring up someone and just kind of prevent Azul from attacking, really.
Yeah, and it looks like there's this one card which he's put down. I'm not sure if that is... He has a Guzma in his hand. I'm not sure if this card he's holding on to is another Guzma, but it looks like he's really agonizing over whether to play it or not. And yeah, indeed, it is a Guzma. He reveals it slowly but surely, and he uses it to bring up the bench Buzzwole for Azul.
Oh, he actually brings up the Rockruff, probably just to retreat back to the Buzzwole?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, there's nothing else on his side of the field that can actually retreat because nothing else has energy on. So, yeah, just going to retreat the Rockruff back into the Buzzwole and go for another Jet Punch, and that will indeed knock out the Remoraid and give Dyego a 2-prize lead.
And I think Diego's hand is back to where he was with 4 energy and a Professor Sycamore, but he has the board position right now, except for a lot of damage on the Buzzwole.
Right, so now back to Azul's turn. He needs to decide what the best way to approach this turn will be. Now, the Buzzwole has been brought into the active. He needs to first of all find a way to retreat this. Either that or maybe he can decide to just attach another energy to it and do another Jet Punch. But he'd ideally like to do Jet Punch with the bench Buzzwole, which of course has more energy on it and is completely fresh.
Well, I think really that's his only option, looking at his hand, choosing again not to play the Max Elixir and then just a Jet Punch for 40 to the active and then 30 to the bench thanks to Regirock EX.
Yeah, indeed. There it is, the other Jet Punch. And now, like you already mentioned before, Jeremy, these residual Jet Punch damages onto Diego's bench Buzzwole are adding up.
Sorry to interrupt, but looking at Diego's hand, I think it's 5 energy, a Guzma, and a Sycamore.
Oh dear. That is not the situation you want to be in at all at this point, and And that's the thing, you can't play the Sycamore in this situation because, you know, you get into so many energy resources by doing that. And indeed, you just opt to just play the Guzma again, bringing up the damaged Buzzwole. May as well attack with this one, given that it's so close to being knocked out anyway. And that way, you prevent Azul from being able to do a massive 4-prize knockout by doing damage to the slightly less damaged Buzzwole, and then using the residual 30 to KO the one that's been put active now.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like Azul will need to find a way to retreat this Lycanroc GX, and fast. This damage will add up thanks to Jet Punch. What did he draw?
I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like it was massively helpful to him either way. Of course, that Lycanroc does have a retreat cost of 2, so it isn't a simple matter of attaching an energy and retreating in order to be able to attack with the Buzzwole again. He would need to find a float zone in order to do it.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Azul does not have what he needs on the top of his deck, so using Brooklet Hill again, just kind of that superstition, like, well, I've been drawing really poorly. I'm just going to shuffle my deck. Maybe I'll draw better.
Yeah, and if he had the options available to him, he could have, example, getting another Pokemon out with the Brooklet Hill, put it onto his bench, and that would have been one less card for him to draw as well. But it looks like instead it's just going to be an attachment to the active and then a pass.
And that's not what you want to see, especially with a Buzzwole in the opponent's active spot with 10 damage left.
Yeah, that's you think you're so close to KOing it, but you know, with that almost sort of stalling play from Dyego, bringing up something that wasn't able to attack or retreat. Dyego bought himself another turn to make this Buzzwole get one last hit in before it hits the discard pile.
And with 130 damage on the benched Buzzwole, one card Azul could really be hoping for on the top of his deck is a Guzma. Being able to take 4 prizes essentially off both of the Buzzwoles if he has it.
Yeah, that would be a really, really big play for him. And now, does Azul have another engine in his hand to retreat? We believe that he should do from what his hand looked like before.
That's all he has in his hand.
Yeah, exactly. So now he'll be able to, once he attaches, be able to retreat and get a really big knockout on, well, on the active Buzzwole at least. But of course, the residual damage won't be enough to KO the bench Buzzwole just yet.
Yeah, well, the one thing he does have going for him is he is winning the race in energy on the board at least. 2 attackers essentially charged up.
It looks like he's agonizing over whether to bench something else. Is that
a third Buzzwole GX?
Yeah, well, of course, both of the Buzzwoles that Azul has access to now do have some level of damage on them, so it would be nice if he's able to attack with one that's completely fresh, again, just to make sure that he makes Dyego work as hard as possible for these prizes, which he needs to win.
Man, this has been such a weird game with these players' hands turning out the way it has been.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when all you have is energy, you know, you do need energy, of course, to power up your attackers and be able to, you know, carry on doing your attacks. But, you know, when you have too much and there's nothing else you could do, then, you know, what else could you do but attach an attack?
Yeah.
And it makes the decision of what you attach to an attack with so much more, so much harder as well.
Yeah, I think I see another Max Elixir in Azul's hand, so just cards he does not want to see, especially with all the energy in his hand.
Yeah, no, and it looks like, is there some kind of discussion going on? Both players have been sort of shuffling their hands for a while, but we haven't really seen any actions for a little bit, so...
Yeah, it definitely looks like they are talking over something. Really, how does this game look so far? Who do you think's in position right now?
So obviously Dyego has the prize lead, which is good for him, and there are definitely knockouts which you could set up, but you have to look at how precarious his board position is. Azul is, you know, not very far away from being able to take a massive, you know, 4-prize knockout turn, or at least just even 2 prizes on the active Buzzwole, and then from then on, you know, he'll be able to get rid of most of Diego's attacking threats, and then he can stabilize and take the game from there. So I'd say perhaps, yeah, obviously price advantage Dyego, but board state advantage, I'd say you've got to give it to Azul.
Yeah, especially he is the one player that has a Buzzwole GX almost charged up for that Knuckle Impact. Such a powerful attack. And wow, hitting the Max Elixir even though he had a ton of energy in his hand.
So going for the risk right now, and it risk paying off as the energy goes onto the Buzzwole, and there is the second energy onto the Lycanroc to retreat it. Up comes the Buzzwole, and there is a Jet Punch for a knockout onto the active, and then 30 onto the already heavily damaged Buzzwole. The Buzzwole is now only one more residual Jet Punch away from being knocked out as well.
Yeah, having 30 HP left as well. Okay, this is what we're going to see. This back and forth, that's what these decks do when you have this mirror match. But there's an choreo drawn from Dyego.
Now, this could be interesting depending on how much later on is played. Maybe because Dyego right now, I believe he has 4 prizes left, not 2, right?
Yeah, Yeah, it looks like he should have 4 prizes left. But here we go, failing the Brooklet Hill, just checking his resources again.
Oh, so we just had an update on that. So actually, it looks like there was a slow play penalty awarded for Dyego. So Dyego now only has to take 2 prizes to win the game.
Oh, that changes this completely. That Lycanroc GX on the bench with 160 damage. It is 2 jet punches away from getting knocked out.
And even then, how many Pokemon are in the discard pile right now for Azul?
I'm not sure, but even so, Supernatural Dance is just good enough, dealing 120 damage to Buzzwoles.
And that Lycanroc is so close to being KO'd as well. You got to think next turn that Oricorio could just bring it up and put the last 2 damage counters to take knockout on it.
Well, as of right now, Oricorio can knock out all of Azul's attackers here.
Well, he doesn't even need to knock out all of Azul's attackers. All he needs to do is just knock out that Lycanroc on the bench, and that's it.
It's flashy.
It is flashy. Although it looks like Diego's still debating on it. Are there not enough Pokemon in Azul's discard pile still?
There's at least the Octillery, so...
Yeah, so there, he's just going to have a look now. So 1, 2. So there it is.
Yeah. And there it is. Oricorio taking the game for Dyego. Brazil up 1-0 here. And you can hear that crowd.
Wow, that prize penalty just turning things over completely. Dyego only needing to take 2 prizes to win, and so able to use the Oricorio to place those 2 damage counters onto the bench Lycanroc and take the win in game 1.
Wow, what a weird game for our first game in finals.
Yeah, I don't think we've quite seen a Buzzwole Lycanroc mirror play out like that at all so far.
Yeah, and then of course we were talking about Mew being such a big card for Azul, but Oricorio coming in handy, coming in clutch.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, even though we didn't quite see it there, of course, it does have that attack which just does do 30 damage if there's a stadium card in play. With a choice band, that goes up to 60, and then double weakness, that's 120 on a Buzzwole.
That's not too shabby.
No, not too shabby at all. So now looking into game 2, how do you think either player is going to adapt their strategy in order to sort of maybe try and give themselves the edge compared to how they've seen each other play in the last game?
Let's see. Draw more supporter cards that aren't named Professor Sycamore with a bunch of energy in your hand.
I like that strategy. I think it's the winner.
Yeah, that's such... The game was so weird where it's essentially them just attack pass because their hands are just filled with all their energy.
Yeah, exactly. It's really difficult when you're in that situation. And like you said, the whole way that a lot of these really high-level decks operate is you draw lots of cards, have lots of different options to do in a given turn, and you access all your tools to do the extra damage to reach for those knockouts. But if all you have is energy, all of a sudden you have a lot less decisions, and every single one you make is that much more crucial.
Yeah, and unfortunately there it looks like Dyego was able to capitalize and take the game 1 game away from being the 2nd ever Masters Division Latin America International Champion.
And if that happens, I think the roof here might just leap off the building.
Oh, I don't think there's definitely going to be a lot of celebration tonight if that happens.
Yeah, undoubtedly. So now it looks like both players are almost shuffled up and ready to go, and it looks like Azul does have his basic ready, but Dyego is still looking at his opening hand. It looks like there's another discussion going on with the judges. So I know that's all been cleared up, so that's all good to go now. And Dyego does have a basic as well. So now let's start to have a look at the prizes. From Azul's side, what does he have prized this time?
All right, a Buzzwole GX. The Regirock could be important here.
Yeah, of course, he is only playing the 1. Sometimes it can be a very important math fixer, rather. So, I mean, actually,
Regirock as well for Dyego, but he also has that Energy Switch item card, which we saw him use to great advantage.
So there it is. We are off for game 2, and Azul starts straight off in game 2 with an N.
Wow, that's not what you want to see when you just draw your hand. I can't play anything, and then I'll just play an N.
Yeah, it's. But you know, if that's all it is, that's all you have to work with. But this is the thing. You see, the crowd likes this. If Azul doesn't draw another basic here, Dyego only needs to attach a stronger dude to win. So what does Azul see?
All right, is there a basic? I think I see a Brooklet Hill.
No, yes, there is a Brooklet Hill. Oh, the Brazilian crowd disappointed about that.
Trying to steal one away just super quick.
Yeah, but unfortunately not going to work out that time. There is the Brooklet Hill, so Azul will be able to search the deck for a basic Pokemon, and we will have another full game for you guys right now.
Yeah, and looking at his hand, it is kind of awkward, but it is still playable. There's 3 energy and an Ultra Ball, so he will be able to get Tapu Lele and stuff next turn if he chooses to.
Indeed he will, and maybe could it even be a consideration for him to play Ultra Ball this turn? Yes, it is. He actually just goes for it straight away, discarding 2 basic fighting energy, and maybe just, yeah, going preemptively for that Tapu Lele GX and using the Wonder Tag, maybe to bait out an end from Diego's side.
Yeah, that could be good, but discarding 2 basic fighting is never what you want to see, especially this early.
No, but actually, having said that, though, Azul's list is one that can get away with that slightly more, as we already said, his higher basic energy count.
Oh, and this is smart. He actually retreats to the Tapu Lele with a Floatstone, kind of saving that Mew for later on in the game.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool play from Azul, definitely making the most out of how his hand played out there now, knowing that the Tapu Lele is a much safer thing to promote. Now, Diego, for his part, starts straight off using that Brooklet Hill, which Azul put down, and it looks like he's actually opting to go for the Sudowoodo first.
So Sudowoodo is a great card, especially later on in the game, just because that's when your opponent's going to Absorption GX. That's when they're going to Danger Stroke. That's where then they're going to Knuckle Impact.
Yeah, and so, of course, if you're able to copy those on a 1-prize attacker, that can work out a lot more nicely for you. We do see a Max Elixir now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is this one going to be a hit?
It is not.
No.
The first Max Elixir from Dyego does not find a basic energy in the top 6.
Yeah, and then the American crowd definitely happy about that one, as now Diego is actually going to has a second Max Elixir in his hand. Will this one be a miss as well? Is it going to be a hit? Let's see. Drum roll, please.
There is an energy. All is for naught. He does at least hit 50% of his Max Elixir so far.
So there we go. So one hit but 1 miss for Diego, as now he actually has a hard time deciding which way he's going to put it, but he does opt to go for the Rockruff.
Yeah, so both Pokemon need a little bit of work from the opponent to actually deal a lot of damage. Sudowoodo having them do a big attack, while Lycanroc GX having them have a full bench.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there is a Rockruff, another one being benched from Diego's side. Interestingly enough, he opts to play, see the split there of the promo Rockruff and the one from Guardians Rising. Normally the promo Rockruff we see is, for attacking against those Hooper stall decks, because of course that Hooper is invulnerable to a Pokemon EX and GX, so having something that can actually be able to attack it can be pretty useful, which is why you tend to play a mix.
I actually like the split a lot here, especially because Corner is such a versatile attack and can really just steal a game up from someone. Yeah,
Corner is one of those attacks where it might win you 1 in 1,000 games, but in that 1 in 1,000 games you have it and you have the option to do it and you don't have access to it, you're going to regret not playing it, so absolutely makes sense to play a split.
All right, and then here we see the Jet Punch from Diego. 30 on the Tapu Lele, 30 on the Mew. Action now back to Azul. That hand of just a Professor Sycamore got end away, so we'll have to see what he has to work with here.
I think the answer is not a whole lot, as he actually just plays an end straight away.
All right, he does get that basic fighting energy on Mew, though, so he will be able to do a little bit more damage this turn.
Yeah, he will. Maybe he will. If he gets a Choice Band, actually, he could do a very nice Jet Punch for 120, copying the Boswell, of course, but he would need to find the Choice Band to do that.
All right, and both players getting 6 cards off this end. It's still early on, still 6 prizes each.
Now, what does Azul find off here? He does find another Brooklet Hill, a couple of energy, and a Remoraid. The Remoraid is pretty good for him. That means he'll be able to put that down, and then he should be able to have access to artillery later, but I don't see a draw supporter for him, unfortunately.
No draw supporter, no Choice Band from him either, so this turn will be a little anemic, still doing 60-30 with Jet Punch from the Mew.
Yeah, so not bad, but again, perhaps not the ideal that Azul would have wanted. And he actually just opted to get nothing off the Brooklet Hill, it looks like.
All right, that's very interesting. Well, I guess he is playing around that Dangerous Rogue GX from the Lycanroc. Remember, there's that 1 fighting energy on that Rockruff.
Yeah, it is, and he's got to be very worried about that. And again, showing his level of skill here, recognizing the threat that the Lycanroc could pose, and yeah, just opting not to get his own Rockruff right now, instead thinking that the Remoraid that he has in his hand is more valuable to put down.
Definitely, especially with his hand not really having much going for it.
Meanwhile, from Diego's side, there is the use of the Brooklet Hill again. It would be interesting to see if he actually opts to take the same approach that Azul does and opts not to bench something off of this and is just using it to check his deck. But given that he's already benched for Pokemon, he might think that benching the 5th here doesn't really make too much of an impactful difference. And indeed, he has just gone ahead and put that Buzzwole on his bench for the 5th slot.
Yeah, well, getting a second Buzzwole GX out is very important, just because even though it is weak to this opposing Mew, weak to the stuff he has, that's your main attacker in this deck.
Yeah, and it's very important to have multiples of them. As we've seen a couple of times already, sometimes the Buzzwole like a Rock Mirror can be lost on the basis of not having backup attackers to follow up when your main one goes down. So very wise from Dyego there to be able to get that Buzzwole out as quickly as possible. And equally, it looks like he finds himself the Lycanroc GX and actually goes for the Bloodthirsty Eyes, bringing up the Remoraid on Azul's bench.
Yeah, that Ultra Ball having two good options for Dyego there, either getting the Octillery or the Lycanroc, but Lycanroc making it so he can deal damage to the Remoraid and then just knock out the Mew on the bench since it already has that 30. And there's a Max Elixir hitting the basic fighting 2 for 3 now in game 2.
Gotta be happy about that. And now he opts to put it onto the Sudowoodo, so now that's another threat which Azul has to consider if he's ever doing a really high damage attack. He really needs to be careful that he doesn't fall victim to Watch and Learn, copying that attack right back at him.
All right, looking for a Super Rod, shuffling that 1 fighting energy back. Remember, it's very important. He only plays the 9.
Yeah, so even though there's only shuffling back in 1, that's like, could be the difference between hitting his 4th Max Elixir or not. So just opting to use that Super Rod now, and just, oh, he's going to play the Sycamore anyway, so he might as well use it as well.
Yeah, 7 brand new cards. It's looking pretty sweet here for Dyego.
What did he get? Oh, he finds the Octillery. That's a really, really good find for him. But other than that, there's like a Float Stone, some energy, and a Remoraid.
And there we go, Jet Punch, 30 on the Remoraid, 30 on the Mew, taking it out. Dyego now is the first one to take a prize this game.
And now action is going to be back on Azul. As we already know, his hand is not really massively workable. He has to attach a basic fighting to the Remoraid, although he's going to have a quick look at Diego's Discard Power before doing so. And actually, he's going to look at Goo Brooklet Hill one more time.
All right, now you can kind of afford, like, okay, maybe I can bench this Rockruff, try to set up my own Lycanroc GX, because Bloodthirsty Eyes is a very good ability, especially in this matchup.
Yeah, he wants to have access to that later on because he's undoubtedly going to need it to close off this game. And so there, down goes the Rockruff onto the bench. And now I guess we will see the fighting energy go onto the Remoraid, and then I imagine he's just going to retreat to the Buzzwole and announce Jet Punch.
Yeah, but remember, we were talking about how the board looks with energy, and right now Dyego has a ton of energy spread around.
Yeah, the one saving grace for Buzzwole, or for Azul, is that this Buzzwole is doing quite a bit of damage. We see it does have the strong energy and the choice back on, so that will be 80 damage to the active and 30 to the Octillery. Next turn, in theory, Azul could take a free prize turn when both the active Buzzwole and the Octillery go down.
Yeah, and again, Dyego is usually relying on that Dangerous Rogue GX to take a big knockout on a fresh Buzzwole, but Azul's been playing around it so well that right now its max damage is 150.
And there's a big Guzma from Dyego. He's able to use that to bring up the Rockruff, which, as we've already mentioned, can be quite a threat, and equally bringing up his own fresh Buzzwole, which is much less likely to be able to be knocked out. The only saving grace for Azul is because there's no Regirock on the bench, this Rockruff survives with 10 HP.
Yeah, but he does get that Remoraid on the bench knocked out after a second Jet Punch, so it is looking bad.
Yeah. Now, one thing that is important to mention that both of these players currently have slow play warnings. So at any other point in the game, if one of them it ends up slow playing again, they will receive an instant double prize penalty.
Yeah, and that is what caused the double prize penalty in the first game.
Yeah, exactly. So both these players, I think, ever since then, I think they've both sped up a lot now. So I don't think that should be an issue either way. But just to let you guys know at home the full situation.
All right, but here we go. Jet Punch with the fresh Buzzwole taking a double knockout here. Now 3 prizes for Azul.
Indeed, and now, even though, again, the energy situation is favored to Dyego, you know, that was a really big knockout from Azul, and it's not like Azul doesn't have access to his GX attack either. There is a Lycanroc of 1 energy on the bench, so, you know, even though those 2 energies that he has are much less, the placement of them is still going to work out quite well for him, and now Dyego needs to be very careful about how he approaches in his next few turns. Yeah,
so right now with the Lycanroc Dangerous Rogue, he's doing 170 damage. Another strong energy would make it so he could knock out a Buzzwole GX just straight clean.
Yeah, and now, interestingly enough, that's for Rathje, which he was able to fetch out of the prizes now, actually just gets Ultra Balled away. It'll be interesting to see what Dyego actually goes for here. Could be going for, looks like, I was going to say maybe going for a Lycan Rock, but no, he just grabs his Tapu Lele and just instantly grabs a Guzma.
Yeah, so this is great. This Tapu Lele getting the Guzma means the Lycan Rock will be brought up, and a single energy card could mean a Knuckle Impact to take the knockout on Lycan Rock GX.
That would be pretty big, and that would put Dyego in a really good spot. There is the energy, so he's got it as well. Down it goes onto the Buzzwole, and there is the Guzma bringing up the Lycan Rock, and now that's one of Azul's potential biggest comeback threats actually taken off the board.
Yeah, and the one way for Azul to build up a lot of damage is through Max Elixir now. And he's been through quite a few energy cards.
Yeah, he has. So this is going to be the make or break turn for Azul. The one saving grace for him is that he does have the Tapu Lele GX with the float zone already on it. And actually, a very interesting point there. It looks like Dyego actually opted to do Absorption GX.
Yeah, having 4 prizes and Absorption GX dealing 40 times the number of prize cards you have with the strong energy is enough to take the knockout on the Lycan Rock, meaning next turn he can Knuckle Impact.
And this is going to be the crucial Max Elixir, folks. Does Azul hit this? He does!
All right, Azul is not out of it yet, folks, but remember that Watch and Learn Sudowoodo on Diego's bench could copy a big Knuckle Impact here.
Yes, it's a very catch-22 situation. Azul knows he needs to do big damage to knock out this Buzzwole, but then Dyego could just come back just as strong and then take the knockout and win.
And I don't even think I see another energy in Azul's hand. He might have to Cynthia to try to draw into it.
Wow, this is my heart's racing, Jeremy. This is going to be very, very close either way, whether it goes to game 3 or whether it ends here.
All right, he is using that Brooklet Hill, getting out that Remoraid. Again, Octillery is one of the ways to combat late game N, and both players don't really have one in play.
No, they really don't. And now Azul's getting the Remoraid out just in case the game doesn't end up going long enough that he finds Octillery and that ends up being relevant. But meanwhile, he's just gonna bench the Buzzwole and the Lycan Rock and the Rathje Rock, attach a Choice Band to the Buzzwole and just go for the Cynthia.
Yeah, okay, 1 point to know. A strong energy here could mean a knockout with Absorption GX, and with Dyego already using his GX attack, Watch and Learn would be a moot point here.
So that is definitely going to be what Azul's going to go for. So does he hit it off this? This is going to be a crucial Cynthia, folks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does he get it?
Strong energy for Azul here. He has it! And now Absorption GX can take the knockout here.
A crucial draw for Azul as he now is right back into this game.
And he's free to bench all the Pokemon. No GX attack left from Dyego here. And honestly, no attacking options here from Dyego at all.
Wow, what a turnaround.
Another Max Elixir charging up a Buzzwole on the bench. Things are looking amazing for Azul right now after just looking like he was going to lose next turn.
Yeah, and it looks like Dyego is actually not sure if it's knockout. Yes, it is Dyego. So Azul goes down to 1 prize left, and now how can Dyego respond to this?
I honestly don't think there's a way for him to attack, at least with the board right now, because you can't Max Elixir to Lycan Rock GX.
No, of course he can't. So Claw Slash isn't an option. So Watch and Learn isn't an option given that he's already used his GX attack. I mean, he's going to try and play this out anyway, but yeah, I think you're right, Jeremy. I think we're going to be seeing a game 3 here.
Okay, well, Diego's hand does have an Ultra Ball, could find that Octillery. He also has a Float Stone and an Energy Switch in his hand. So we could see a crazy Abyssal hand to draw exactly what he needs for a crazy Knuckle Impact from a Buzzwole.
That would be mind-blowing. He looks like he's deciding whether he wants to go for the Zygarde off of this Brooklet Hill just to thin out his deck, and he does indeed put it down.
Well, that means he can't bench the Buzzwole in his hand.
Oh, maybe he wants to attack with the Zygarde instead? I mean...
Man, this game is crazy. What a Masters Finals here in Brazil.
It could not have asked for a better one. There is the Ultra Ball, actually just discarding that Buzzwole, actually, and looks like he's also going to discard a Fighting Energy.
All right, searching for that Octillery. Abyssal Hand, one of the cards he needs to try to win this game.
But now, like you said, now he's discarded the Buzzwole. I mean, the maximum that Zygarde can really do is 100 damage. So he's not going to be able to reach for anything with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he might still think Watch and Learn could copy the attack.
Maybe, I'm not sure. But even if it could, I mean, it only
oh
doing
no,
80 damage.
There's access to Claw Slash from Lycan Rock GX. Just 1 more energy. He does 110 damage.
But that still won't be enough for a knockout, though.
If he has the Choice Band and another Lycanroc GX, he could take the win on the Tapu Lele
He can as well. But he looks like it's a miss.
Choice Band here, but there is no Lycanroc GX in sight.
But he hasn't played a Sporty yet this turn, so he can go for the N and try and dig for it here. He's going to put the Float Stone onto the Zygarde and onto the Rockruff, and now he's onto Sudowoodo rather, and he's going to play the N.
An N for 2. If Dyego draws a Lycanroc GX, he will be able to take the game away from Azul, even after that amazing turn.
You can hear him, folks.
Man, if you're not on the edge of your seats, I don't know what you're doing. This N to 2 is probably Diego's most important N to 2 in his Pokemon TCG career.
I would not be surprised entirely if that's the case. So here it is, Jeremy. We go 1, 2. Does he get the Lycanroc? He gets the Lycanroc!
Lycanroc GX, bloodthirsty eyes. Diego Rathje is your 2018 Latin America International Champion.
An unbelievable finish at Latin American Championships. And the homegrown hero will take home the title.
What just happened? What? I don't think I have seen a more impressive swing of events in a Pokemon TCG game.
I think my heart just chopped through my mouth and it came back again.
I've been saying I've left speechless this whole tournament, but what can you say after that?
There's nothing to say, Jeremy. That was one of the most incredible endings to any Pokemon tournament I have ever seen. And I've been commentating for like, at least 2 years, and I've been playing tournaments for even longer than that. I know you have as well. Oh my goodness.
If that didn't get you hyped to play the Pokemon card game.
Woo! Oh my god. Hey, okay. Let's just let's come back down to earth. Come back down to earth and just